Just step by step and breathe through it.
Oh, there we go. Breathe through it. So what's so different about his perspective than yours?
Okay, so what I was explaining was that, like, he sees it as something very difficult to meet that sort of white space. And for me, I don't know, it could be that, like, since I was really young, I grew up in, like, church, and I was, like, I prayed every single weekend, and I think that maybe, like, that kind of, like, pushed me into wanting to know more about my own spirituality, and then I kind of fell off, and then I came back with, like, a more open mind. And when I had that sort of dream, going back into that, when I had that dream, it really wasn't a dream, it was sort of like a vision or a thing when I went into meditation, and that's where I went to this place, and it was God, like the Christian God, and he appeared to me, and I went, it's like it was just a completely white space, and my body wasn't there. I wasn't my body. I was just I couldn't see myself, but I knew I wasn't a body because I felt really light. I felt like my strongest self, if I can, like, in layman's terms, like I felt like my highest, wisest, strongest self. And I guess you could say, like, I was sort of like just an energy, and he was a body. He was a body.
So he feels like a body, and that's why he struggles to be in that white space.
No, my God, the way that I envision God, like the way that, you know how some people, they think of their higher power as, like, the universe, or they think of it as, like, the moon and the stars, or they think of it as the sun, or they think of it as, you know, Buddha, or they think of it as, you know, themselves, that they are God. Well, for me, what he was telling me, he said, I appeared to you because I was questioning him, and I'm like, are you God? But is there even God? Like, is there even a God? But I wasn't speaking. I was only thinking these things, and he was answering. I wasn't speaking them, and he was answering. And he said, I appeared this way because this was the easiest way for you to receive the information I'm going to tell you. And I asked him, like, I didn't ask him. I was thinking, like, oh, so, like, for other people, you would be different? And what? Do you sound like a paper rustle?
Yeah, the people moved.
Oh, the paper? Oh, it's probably just a gust of wind. Where? Did it really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did it go like this?
Mm-hmm.
Up and down? Because I kind of heard it.
Mm-hmm.
How, you want to show me?
I want to go home now.
Oh, don't be scared. How did it move?
I'm a little scared. Yeah. No, it was a gust of wind. I totally saw it because it was like kind of
Oh.
That was like freaking me out right now.
It's okay. When you talk about these sort of things, I believe that you attract positive energies. When you talk about positive things, you attract positive things.
Okay, well then it's definitely telling you to work out.
Well, I definitely do want to work out. Yeah, after I just ate that pie and ice cream. But this is kind of where I, like, changed. I changed a lot. Like, this is where I felt like after the whole thing, I felt like I didn't really agree with I didn't really agree with
Let's give
my
him
friend.
a name. Let's give him, like, Nick.
We can call him Nick. I don't like that name.
Okay, well, Josue?
Josue. Nick is okay.
Okay.
That's the first name you can think of. So yeah. So I knew right away, like, after having that, like, I didn't believe in what...
Oh, let's call him Miguel. You like that name. I know you do.
Who's Miguel? I'm just kidding. Oh, but I'm so stuck with Nick now.
Okay, fine. Let's stick with Nick.
Whatever.
Whatever name you say first.
So Nick, yeah. So after I had that, there was more that went on in the vision. it was crazy because before Nick, I could go into these sort of spiritual, like, awakening, spiritual realms, spiritual places in my mind, spiritual feeling. I could read people so easily before Nick. With Nick, I questioned everything, which sometimes questioning is good, but it made me feel like I didn't know myself. It made me feel like I was starting to come into his belief, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how I was like coming into his belief, and the only reason why I did dabble in a little bit believing in what he did was because I wanted to see if I believed in it too. But I felt like the more and more I tried to, see it through his eyes, I was forgetting what I believed. And I was forgetting the feeling. I was forgetting how easy it was for me. How I can just go into that place and that space so easily. And with him, he makes it seem like it's so step by step.
Okay, I get it. I totally get it. I can actually relate to that. I think that's why I'm so interested in the way his perspective is, because I used to be like that. I used to be like super aware of like my spirituality, that I wanted to make sure that I was doing all the steps right. And that's what I even did the scientifically proven spirituality, scientific stuff like that. And one thing led to another. I just kind of lost it because I was like, I hit a road stop. I was like, fuck, I can't figure it out. You know what I mean? And I think that was like the main thing and why I kind of like fell out of spirituality, is because I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I can't figure it out anymore. And that's one thing that I have to agree with you, is that like maybe male and female are different through spirituality. I mean, he did say that it is, but you're right. Like, I'm glad that you realized that, because it took me a long time to realize that it's me who just figures it out. You don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that I understand you, and you're right, because that's what I did too. Like, I just kind of let it be me, and then it started coming back to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But right now, my clairvoyancy and stuff like that, I'm too hyper focused on that shit. Like, I keep trying to figure out like how to bring it back, but I'm starting to understand now that it's within me. It's gonna come back. You know what I mean? But I just need to, like, I don't know, sleep more, meditate more, because that's how I get it. Like, I get it through dreams, and I don't sleep often anymore.
So what I've been recognizing is that I was going through the same thing, like what you say, like you want your clairvoyance back. And I want that moment where I could feel just like the songs move through me, and I can just feel, the passion and the love just like come out of me so easily. And I was trying so hard to get back to that. Like, I was just like kind of forcing it, and forcing myself to get back into like that time where I'm like meditating, and I feel it. I feel like my oneness. I feel like, I call it the presence. I feel like that presence, that blanket of peace just like comes over me, and I was kind of trying to force that, and that's where you won't ever move past, is because spirituality goes beyond the mind. We all try to like, and I was trying to like get to that place in my mind. I was forcing it in my mind and my body. Like, if I put myself and if I do this, then I will get there. But it's not the mind. It's just a feeling. It really is. It's just like you set your mind to a place where you feel safe and at peace, and it's really hard to explain, but then you just think of what makes, like, you just think of love. Like, that's the best way that I can explain it for myself. And that's how Nick talks about it all the time, is, meditate on your heart chakra. Meditate on your heart chakra. And I don't really like think, my heart chakra. I think love. And sometimes
you know what? I'm so glad you said something like that, because I now that just made me think about, like, what does Nick even talk about or think about when he meditates on the heart chakra? Like, Because you said that you think about love, but what does he think about?
He thinks about a flutter.
A flutter?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
The way that he explains it is that he puts 2 fingers on his chest where his heart should be. And he thinks and he focuses. He focuses on that point, on the pressure right around his heart.
Okay.
Where he's putting with his fingers. And that's what he does. He just focuses all of his energy, all of his, like, with all of his, like, every thought. He focuses on that pressure until he starts to feel a flutter. And, yeah, for me, for him, the flutter, it's called a flutter. For me, it's called love. I start to feel love. I start to feel love and appreciation for everything around me. And I start to feel light. You know, when you're in love, you get butterflies. You know, you feel, you feel light and airy.
You know what? Okay, I know we were just talking about the differences of, like, male and females. I just remember that. I remember when I was, like last year, I was coming back into my spirituality. And I actually have a confession to make because, so I'm going to call her Mitchell.
Chanel
Mitchell. Yeah, Chanel. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna call her Chanel. And I remember when, like, she was also Christian. Like, she had a different. She went to Christian. She was like a, what do you call it, youth pastor, youth teacher, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was one of those,
Youth
right?
pastor.
Yeah, youth pastor. No. She wasn't a youth pastor. Was she? A youth teacher? She's not a pastor, but she's like...
Well, that's what they call him.
Okay, whatever. She was. Okay. And she went to church, like, every weekend. She would force me to go to church with her. Like, we were... Yeah. And one day... Like, not one day, but, like... Well, technically one day. But I, like, throughout our years of being friends or whatever, I've always told her that I've struggled with, like, my spirituality, and I just don't, like I told you before, that I just don't get it because I hit a dead end. Like, I can't find myself anymore. And then all of a sudden, like, one day, she goes, I'm spiritual now. And this is what my spirit guide's telling me. And I don't know what's going on with my mind or my head or my body or my emotions, like, and she was freaking out. And all I can do as a fucking good friend was tell her, you're not crazy. I get you. I completely understand what you're going through.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, but I'm over here in my head like, you fucking dumb bitch. Like, all of a fucking sudden, you're fucking spiritual, and, like, you have a fucking psychic friend that's telling you that you are spiritual, and I'm over here still trying to figure this shit out. Like, in my head, I was like, oh, you know what? I think that's why I got that card. Remember when we were at Paulina's house, and she pulled that tarot card of ask for help? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, fucking Chanel didn't fucking, you know, she's over here being spiritual, she has a psychic friend, she got it all figured out, she's having this great experience in going through spirituality, and I'm over here struggling, and I'm in a negative spot, and she's not doing anything about it. So, what I'm starting to realize now is that I should have asked for help. You know, I should have asked her and say, hey, like, can you figure my shit out? Because I don't know where the fuck I am. So, long story short, which was already a long story, but long story short, her psychic friend told me that it was so magical. Like, I mean, it wasn't nothing serious, but it was so magical in my perspective, in my shoes, because all he said was, you do what you need to do. I mean, you can do anything and figure it out. If you feel like you want to do tarot reading, if you want to do tarot reading, then you do tarot reading and you'll just figure it out. It's what you like to do. You know what I mean?
I agree, yeah.
It doesn't matter if someone else is doing tarot readings and that's how they figure it out. Like, if you don't want to do that, then
I'm so
you don't
happy.
have to follow that.
I'm so happy you said that. Because with Nick, it was like he was doing it that way, and he was getting to his sort of higher place in his peaceful center, in his own, like, step-by-step process. And for me, I do it completely different. I just think about, sometimes I don't feel love. Sometimes, like, I am, like, such in a bad mood. Like, I wake up and I'm depressed. So what really helps me is I just start to look around and I really start to think about, I like literally think about how grateful I am because for everything that I have right now. And for the things that surround me, for the family that surrounds me. And then that's what springs up that emotion of love. And I was telling him that when I had that vision, when I was with my God, is that everybody's experience is different. Everyone's is. And that's why my higher being, higher self appeared as a God, is because that's the way that I receive love. That's the way that I see love. And other people are going to see it differently. Like with Nick, he sees it as, the universe. He just sees it as like a very vast sort of open space. That's very mystical and filled with energies. I see it as a white place with a man who's very kind and full of, and only with love, and who guides me and who loves me the most. And that is a part of me, and I am him. That's the way that I see it. And it sounds very like Christian based, and I think that a lot of it does have to do with the way that I was raised.
And that's okay.
Yeah. But I tried for a long time to try to change that. To try to, like my first semesters in school, I went to different churches. Like I went to synagogues and mosques, and tried, and I just sort of watched how they did their process of things, and it was beautiful how they all believed in different gods, but the God was basically the same thing in every single religion.
Yeah.
It was literally just basically nailed down to the same thing, which was love. Which is love, accepting others and helping others come to the truth. And I think that we both agree that like religions kind of border you off into like straying you, and I think that it's the way that people try to lead you so that you are sort of their, in a way, army, and so that they could feel powerful within themselves, because that's the ego, and that's like our human ego, that's our pride.
Do you feel like, I mean, this is just a thought that's like coming up in my head, like do you think that, like, I'm not talking bad about like scientists or scientifically proven spirituality or whatever it's called, but do you feel like maybe scientifically proven aspects of spirituality is interfering with religion, like it's kind of separating, or do you
think that is hindering people from actually experiencing their own spirituality? Experience? Honestly, to be honest, I don't think so. I don't think that it I think it hinders. I think it does and it doesn't, because for those people who never believed in anything religious or spiritual, they see the science part of it, and then they start to like think, oh, okay, like what is this? Like, that's so crazy that like we have this junk DNA, but actually it proves that like when we go into a spiritual awakening, some of that DNA is like comes to life, like during like some monitoring of the brain when people had their like sort of meditation times. They monitored the brains, and then they see like, oh, the parts of their brain waves are like they're making different things that are not normal in a normal brain, and that's why like things like science is saying like, oh, what's the purpose behind junk DNA? It's because if we like meditate, there's like even scientific studies showing that if we meditate on healing a part of our organ or something, if we believe it so much, and like in Christianity it's the same thing, in other religions they like, if you pray to your God and you believe it and you like receive that you're healthy and you fixed your organ, and then next thing you know the doctor tells you that it's a miracle and it's been healed, that actually came from your junk DNA, but there hasn't been much proof or science behind that. But that's what most scientists are leaning towards, is that junk DNA is actually, there's actually a purpose, is that our bodies are built to heal themselves, and even when we focus so hard on healing a part of our body, that DNA kicks in and reproduces a healthy portion.
Wow, so, no comment on that. That was very interesting.
But I think that like the science part really does open up a lot of people to having an open mind, but also it doesn't get them to that next step. It won't reach them to that next step. They have to take that leap.
Of believing it?
Yes.
I feel like?
Some religions call it faith.
Yeah.
They call it faith and hope. That you take that step to believing. I would just call it receiving peace. I would just call it, receiving love. And what I've recently, like, I don't know about you, but what I've recently been dealing with within myself is accepting everything that I am. And I talked to you about this over FaceTime. Accepting everything that I am without feeling upset or even thinking that I wasted time. Mm-hmm. And just trusting the process and trusting myself, trusting my higher self, my higher self, aka God, aka the universe, that I'm on the exact path that I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So I know, like, what you've been feeling. I know how sometimes you and I, we both feel kind of lost.
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty in sync sometimes. Well, not sometimes, like, most of the times. Like, probably, 80% of the time.
Like, one weekend, hey, girl, I was thinking about you. Oh, my God, I was thinking about you, too.
I know.
All week. No, me too, all week.
Did you just read my mind? Shit like that. Oh, my gosh. I'm about to start my period. Oh, my God, girl, me too.
But I haven't seen you for 2 weeks.
Let's talk about your first experience of spirituality. You know what? I don't want to talk about first experiences because I feel like there's a lot of people who talk about that already. Let's talk about the shadow part about it, like the negative part about it. But the part where just the negative parts about spirituality, like how sometimes you can feel lost, or sometimes you really have to be, some people have to be really traumatized to get to spirituality. Maybe it's a little bit about that push to get them to there, like the dark side of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be about spirituality. It could be about other religions, of the dark side of the religions and how it made you feel, and then how you turned into spirituality. I just want to talk about the shadow parts about it, because everybody comes into spirituality thinking it's just love, light, and enlightenment, when reality is that it's yin and yang. It's a balance. There's a good part and there's a bad part, and we all live through it. Mm-hmm. And we never talk about the shadow part. We never talk about the negative part, because nobody wants to hear it anyways. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to know about it. Nobody wants to hear it, but we have to talk about it, because if people are actually going to go through spirituality, they have to know. You know what I mean? People mm-hmm. have to know. We have to know. We have to talk about it, just because it's important. It's important. People are not going to understand what they're going through. How, one of my shadow days is when, when I didn't know I was clairvoyant, and I was seeing all these visions. I've told you this about, I told you about this already, that it freaked me the fuck out. That's the dark part about it. That's the scary part about it. That's the shadow part about it. Or when I didn't know if I was going to light or through dark, dark energy or light energy. And that's something I need to realize, is that it's not the fact that I'm choosing a side, it's the fact that I'm both, because at the end of the day, I am yin and I am yang. I have a good side and a bad side. Mm-hmm. That shadow part of spirituality, that we don't talk about, because nobody wants to know about the shadow part, the dark part. It's scary, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a balance, don't you think?
Yeah. What I will say about that is that, in my belief, from what I know, and what I've seen other people study, and what they've said, is that spirituality comes from your subconscious. It comes from what you don't typically think that you believe, but it's there. The dark side of it is you. Anything that I believe that anything evil or dark that comes into your space comes from you, because you subconsciously invited it, because you subconsciously were dwelling on it, because you subconsciously started to accept a feeling of fear, a feeling of loneliness, a feeling of sadness or depression, or a feeling of lost. And it's not completely like your fault for falling into these spaces, but because we do live in a world where things happen to us and around us, and that cause us, like coming out of a relationship, you know, we live in these bodies, and we feel a certain emotion, and that emotion is going to be either, you know, it's going to be strong, it's going to hit us hard, it's going to have like effect on us, especially if we've come out of a relationship where we feel bliss and we feel loved and we feel safe, and all of a sudden it's taken away from us and we feel like we're rejected, or we feel like we've been betrayed, and we start to dwell on those feelings, and we start to really just like stick ourselves in a hole, like a rut, and we think about those things, and then we start to attract those negative energies towards us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say about like the dark part of it, is that sometimes our subconsciously, when we're coming into enlightenment, when we're coming into like that place where we start to feel happy, anybody who's ever been through any trauma where they feel like they've been really happy and then something traumatic happens to them, right, and takes them away from that happy, safe place abruptly, their body, their brain is going to tell them, hey, you know, it's just going to say, hey, it's not going to say, remember last time you were in this situation, and you felt this, and you felt really happy, and then this bad thing happened to you. Your brain's not going to really tell you that. It's because it's stuck deep in your subconscious from something like a long time ago, most likely. So instead, it's just going to give you like this questioning. You're going to question it. You're going to go in defense mode. And when you go into defense mode, subconsciously, those negative emotions are going to be linked to that feeling of happiness. And they're linked to that feeling of happiness because of that traumatic event that happened when you were happy. So you think happiness, and then that negative emotion is also linked to that. And what you really have to do is just go back and find a way to disconnect those. That happiness you could be happy, and you can vibe on that frequency of love and happiness and bliss without having it linked to a vibration of like depression or sadness or fear. And I think that whenever we go into, well, for me, I know at first because I've been through some experiences, when I would go into my safe and peaceful place, I would start to feel fear come over me, because I would start to think that I feel dark shadows in my room, or I would be afraid to go to sleep because I think that, you know, because I'm like, through Christianity, they tell you, like, you know, the more godly you are, like, the devil's going to come after you. So
more godly?
Yeah, like the more you draw on Jesus, or the more that you know, stand up to be more like Jesus, that the devil's going to try to fight you, and he's going to test you, and he's going to try to like break you away from that.
Wait, why? Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
And that's just like in Christianity, that's what a lot of pastors, they preach.
Okay, well, the only reason why I say that is because, so I'm just gonna call her, Kay. Okay, so Kay used to be my ex-best friend, and she's super Christian now. And we were talking about religion. Well, we weren't talking about religion. She was talking about religion. I was talking about spirituality. Mm-hmm. And so basically, what you just said about the whole, if you're going to try to be like Jesus, the devil's going to come after you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I told her about my spirituality, right? And I told her, I'm just following Jesus' footsteps. And I don't know why that offended her, but it did. And she goes, so you're trying to be like Jesus? And I was like, I was like, I'm not trying to be him. I'm trying to follow his footsteps. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be, good. I'm trying to be whatever.
Why did she get offended? Because that's the basis of Christianity, is to
because
be like Jesus.
Because she said that I believe that I'm higher than everybody, that I am a god. That's what she took from it. And I just find it interesting how you said that. How you were saying that if you think that you're like Jesus, then the devil's going to come fight you.
Yeah, if like you try to be like if you try to be good, that every stage in Christianity, has a harder level to beat, basically. Like, oh, you've passed this level, you're going to go to another one where it's going to be even harder for you, and you're going to battle more demons, and the demons are going to come after you, and this and that. It's like constantly a battle. So I don't believe in that. I don't believe that, that it's going to constantly be a battle, because in a way it is, but it's not an outsource. It's yourself. It's truly just yourself. You're battling yourself. You're trying to get over the battle in your mind. And some Christians have even written books about like the battle in your mind. And there's like Joyce Meyer, she wrote a book about it, The Battlefield of the Mind. And because that's where it takes place, is in the mind. It's all in our heads in Christianity. But like getting back to when I was going into like my spiritual meditations, and I would start to feel like these negative things come around me. I heard in a podcast, this man, he said, when he used to have lucid dreams and he would see these monsters, and he said that those monsters are just from my subconscious. So he said, you know what, instead of being afraid of it and thriving and creating more fear, he said, I just went and I ran up to those monsters and I hugged them and I said, I love you. He said, I just, instead of resonating with fear, because I knew it wasn't real. I knew it wasn't real, and I didn't want myself to fall into fear. So he said he hugged them and said, I love you. So that's what I did when I was just meditating, and I start to feel those things. I start to feel that monster come over my face and face me in my face to try to scare me away, because that monster is not real. He was placed there because of the religion that told me that evil things were going to follow me if I tried to become better. He's not there. It's my subconscious. It's what was taught to me. It was what was drilled into my brain when I was really young. He's a part of me. That negative energy that I'm imagining, that I'm feeling and sensing, that I'm making it become real, because I'm feeding it my energy by thinking about it, by believing in it. I'm feeding it that energy. And what are we? Everybody's energy. Your energy, I'm energy. Any organic material has energy off of it. As human beings, we have the most powerful energy here on Earth. So when we focus on something, we have brain waves and frequencies. And when we focus on something, we feed more energy and frequencies into that item. So it could be a thought. And with this evil thing, if you think about it and you dwell on it and you believe in it and you think and you start to feel fear about it, it'll become more real, and you'll start hearing things and you'll start seeing things move and you'll start feeling it touch you, because you focused your attention on it and you focused your attention on that fear. So instead I said, I love you, because I know that thing is a part of me, and I want everything about me to know that I love me. I love me.
Damn, that was deep as fuck.
I love me for everything that I am, for all of my fears, for all of my insecurities. I love me completely and wholly, and that I'm not going to keep any part of my brain, any part of my emotions isolated. I'm going to accept all of it, and I'm going to bring love to every center of my brain and every center of my spirit. So that's what I've been trying to work on, and it's actually really helped. I don't feel afraid to sleep at night. I don't sense those things anymore. It didn't happen all at once. I used to be afraid to walk to the bathroom with the lights off, because I thought I would see something in the corner, because I used to see these things when I was younger. And the funny thing is they didn't come from my own brain. They came from me hearing other people's stories about how they saw those things, and then I started to see those things, and they were really just my brain focusing energy on it. And after just telling myself it's not real, and I just said, I love you, I thought I would hear something in the corner, and I would look, and I think I see a kid's face.
I love you. I love you. Every corner,
I
love you.
It sounds really lame. It sounds really stupid.
Yeah.
I see it, and I'm not joking. Like, when I say it, but, like, I really mean it. Like, I really try to mean it. Like, I see it, and I'm just like, I love you. And, like, my mind completely goes off of being afraid. Mm-hmm. I switch off of being afraid. I switch off of it, and all I can feel is love. It doesn't happen right away. I say, I love you. And sometimes I still feel afraid. I'm still scared. I'm like, oh my God, I see it. Oh my God. And I was like, no, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'll just sit there. I love you. I love you. I love you. Mm-hmm. Until I start to feel love. Mm-hmm. And then it goes away.
That's powerful. That's funny. That's a good story to tell. You should tell that to other people. It's really funny. And
it's really funny.
No, yeah, it's really funny. It's very true too, you know? So, I don't mean to laugh, but I think that shit's like the cutest shit ever.
So I feel like the dark parts of spirituality isn't an outsource. It's coming from with us. So if you feel like there's a lot of darkness in your life, and you're feeling like you're, Alexa.
Oh my God.
Skip. That's just the gong.
That's
just the gong.
Out of me.
That's just the gong.
I'm afraid of everything right
Alexa,
now.
skip.
First,
Skip.
First, her paper moves. Her Alexa's scaring the shit out of me. Like,
Alexa.
Dude.
Alexa, skip. There you go.
Oh my.
Okay, that's better.
Gosh.
So
I'm afraid to walk home today. Can you get in the car with me and then drop me off at my house? Even though it's my car.
Yeah, that's good. I'll walk home. We'll drive to your place and I'll walk home from there. But what you also have to know is that, like, what? You want me to skip it? Alexa, skip. Oh, here. This is the one you didn't like. We're going to listen to it because it's just a gong.
Something behind me? Just kidding. Did you see some eyes? Just kidding. I'm not afraid. You're afraid. Just like I'm not crying. You're crying.
You're so funny. No, so that's what I wanted to say about, like, this dark part of spirituality is it doesn't come from anybody else, but it comes from our subconscious. The parts where we feel fear and we're afraid, and we think that there's this extremely dark evil out there. We think that the devil's gonna come and get us. The devil is our subconscious. We created it. We created him. We created that negative emotion. We created the things that we see that frighten us. I feel like more people understood that, then I really feel like we would love ourselves more.
Well, how did you feel the first time when you realized that you were empathic?
Empathic?
Yeah. Like, did you just get it right away, or were you scared a little bit? Like,
no, actually, I didn't realize that I didn't even know it was that word, that I didn't even know it was being empathic. I've had this sort of sense about things since I can remember, honestly, when I was a kid. I didn't start feeling it more intensely until I was like 11 in church. And I would just sense things about people, and like my cousins would listen to me like they knew, because for some reason they just believed me, and I would just know, like, especially with my mom, like, she would want me to do some things, and she would always be like, oh, well, thank you for doing that. I was going to ask you to do that, but you did it already, you know? Like little things like that. Like, I just had this, like, feeling or sense. I couldn't really tell you. I didn't really know what it was. And I didn't really know it was anything. I just thought that's, you know, like,
Yeah, but what about when
I started to feel people and how their emotions and see visions? That happened when I was around, like, 13. I was, like, praying more, and my church was having me, like, pray for other people. I would just see things about their futures and their pasts. And
But you were reading people from church, and they were asking you to do that?
we were praying for them. They don't really call it reading; they call it prophesying,
Okay.
being a prophet. But they didn't. I didn't tell them anything, because if I said anything about what I saw, they would sort of shame me and tell me no, like, you're not at that level, because you have to be like if you start to see those things and say those things, then you're at like a certain level that's higher than them, and then then they start to feel like they're inferior, and like it's just like it's a big mess. It's a big mess. So I didn't say anything really, but I did to a few people, and it really helped them. It really helped them. And again, I believe that if you that your spirituality is your subconscious. When I was in church, they would talk about how people can see things and have visions, and when I was a kid, I would see people with like superpowers and like X-Men, and I was a big comic nerd, so I would see like the X-Men and Rogue, how she would drain the life force of other people, and how some are telepathic, and like in Christianity they have prophets who see visions, and I just remember thinking like, I want to be that, I want to be a prophet. I want to speak about the people.
So you manifest being a prophet, basically.
Yes, exactly, because
me too.
Yeah, because I thought about it so much, and I wanted it all the time. I used to think of myself as special, and I used to think, and because that's how we are as human beings, we all think that we're all special, and we are in our own way. So when you hear somebody say like, "Oh, everybody's special, so nobody's special," so none of us are special, blah blah blah. I mean, that's one way of seeing it. You can see it as like the negative side of it, but I choose to see it as the positive side of it, because I feel happier when I think about that. So I think that we all are special, especially like our own experiences with spirituality. It's all unique. Everybody has their own unique niche, unique experience. But as far that getting back to when I first thought I was empathic, I really didn't start to believe again, because I fell off when I was like 18, because some stuff happened in the church that I won't go into right now, but it kind of like turned my heart away from all religion. And then just a couple of years back, after being divorced and looking for rekindling my love for God again, I started to love, the moment that I started to love myself more, which was more recently, in the last few months, that's when I started to really like fall into the more powerful scenes of it. And the part where I started to really dive deep into seeing people's futures and pasts is because everybody's past seems to leave like a dark imprint or a light imprint. And for some reason I can see the light. I can see the light inflections, and I can feel them. And when I feel them, there's a part of me that senses a certain something, and it'll tell me a certain thing, such as a name or a place, or I'll see something. It's all about the connection of like the feeling. But I'm still like trying to learn. I think that with experience, and if I want to, I think I'll dive more into it. But right now, like coming out of being with Nick, being with him, like I just felt like, just like I was saying, I felt like I was living through his eyes instead of my own. And him and I are so similar, but we're very different in the way that we view spirituality. And I think that that's sort of something that kind of like being around him kind of hinders me into my belief of myself, because he sees it so differently. And then when I try to experience it, my spirituality, experience my meditation with him there, I can't. I can't, because I don't fully believe in myself, and because he's around. I don't fully believe in my concept because he's around.
You know what? I have to agree with you. That's how I felt with my ex. It's like my ex wasn't spiritual, so like when I was with him, I felt like I had to ground myself for him. You know what I mean?
You have to change.
Yeah, like I have to change my own beliefs for him, because if I ever stepped out of my lane about spirituality, he wouldn't get it. You know, he wouldn't get it, and he would question me with logic or reason and stuff like that. And it's not about logic or reason. It's about how my tuition is feeling, or how my gut is feeling, or you know what's going on with me within and stuff like that. So I totally get that. When you feel like you have to limit yourself for another person.
And, you know, if I was strong enough and confident enough in what I believe and who I am, I think that I could be with him.
Yeah,
but
I think the same thing.
But because I'm still wanting to experiment, because I'm still wanting to experience and try new things and enjoy myself for who I am, I think that with him beside me...
But do we choose to be ready, though? That's some shit I think about.
Do we choose to be ready?
Yeah, do we choose to be ready? Like, we could be...
We can. I think that everything is a choice. And wherever we set our energy in our mind to be with, whatever choice or decision we set our mind or energy to, we'll go with, and our bodies will align and correct itself. Our emotions will correct itself and align itself to that vision, to that focus. But obviously we don't want it. We don't want it the most. I think that, and I know that actually, that I don't want that, because I want to experience more by myself. And I feel like when I'm with him, I feel like I'm giving up a lot of experiences that I could have by myself that I can't have if I'm with him. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe being with him I can still have those experiences, but I just don't see it. And we can't really, you know, be sad about where we are right now, because we chose it. We thought about it and we focused on it and we made it happen. We manifested it. Because this is what we truly wanted deep down.
To go back home.
This is what we wanted. To find stability. To find ourselves. To be with ourselves. To not have any pressure from men. To not conform to men. Because I thought about it, I thought like, well, I could have that life. I could have that life with him. The life of, you know, being simply happy, doing simple pleasures, which is wonderful, which is like what we should all aim for, is to have those simple pleasures of life, you know, going off-roading, traveling. But I honestly feel like I'm just not ready for that. I want to experience more. I want to have my blissful center begin at the age of 30, and I think I made that up in my mind.
That was beautiful, dude. We are so in sync right now, because I relate to 100% right now. Yeah, I feel like you're absolutely right. If I wanted to be with A, then I would have, you know, but we did choose. I chose this life, to be an independent woman who needs no man in her life. I'm just kidding. Just
We did. And I think that a lot of people should understand that wherever they are in their lives, they chose that. We choose that. Whether we want to admit it or not, because we focused on it and we put that into our subconscious. And when you have that drilled into your subconscious, it manifests into your life because your universe is your subconscious.
I am a millionaire.
I'm serious. Do that. Play it at night while you're
millionaire.
sleeping because that's where your subconscious is most loud.
Mm-hmm.
I say this crap like I do it all the time and like I know everything, but I don't.
I know,
I don't. I need to I should play those things late at night. And I know I should. And I know I could. And it's a simple thing, but we find comfort.
I need to read that damn book.
We find comfort in being stagnant.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're right.
What?
Remember how I was saying why is being comfortable not enough? Mm-hmm. Just that. Sorry. We find comfort in stagnance and being stagnant. I feel like stagnancy is comfort. And I feel like that's why you and I don't want it. It's because there's a place beyond comfort where we're pushing ourselves to be better. Remember how I was just saying okay, let's say we could build a better future for each other. I could get onto my laptop and type in, motivational speaking, or I could type in a teacher teaching math or whatever because I want to learn math while I'm sleeping, because our mind never sleeps, our brain never sleeps, So I went to drill that into my subconscious as mathematical teachings so I can skip a math level or something, I could do that. But why don't I? It's because I'm comfortable. I like watching my Family Guy or Office or whatever before bed.
Right.
Because you're comfortable. You're comfortable there. You don't want to change. You don't want to be better.
You're so right, because I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and I don't fucking get out of bed until 10 p.m. because I have no purpose.
But why? Why do we not want to change? Why don't we want to make that little effort?
Oh my gosh,
to be better?
This is the best content ever. You're absolutely right. It's like when we say it out loud, it totally makes sense. But when we say it in our heads, it's like, nah.
It totally makes sense. No, that's a serious question. I want to know why, why
isn't comfort enough?
No, why am I not changing to be better? Why am I okay to just be comfortable? Because it feels good, right? It just feels good.
It feels easy.
Yeah. And maybe that is what I want. Maybe because that's what I truly want. And if that is what I want, then I shouldn't hate myself for not being any better. I shouldn't hate myself for not being more fit. Because honestly, I want to eat that cake and I want to eat that pie and ice cream, because it makes me feel good. And I know eventually I'll change. I know eventually I'll change my mind and I'll want to work out because...
But I hate myself because I want to be better. So tomorrow...
Exactly.
I'm going to try to wake up and do something about it.
What time is it right now? It's not showing me.
It's 11:49.
Oh. Why does mine say 10:55? Oh, that's when we started. Okay, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But yeah, exactly. I guess you just have to take that time to really think about what you truly want and whether or not if you're putting that into your life.
You know what? I'm so glad we're talking about this because lately for the past week, little ideas of me, of seeing myself, it's not even me thinking of it. It's just a thought. Just an image thought. I don't know if that exists. I mean, it does exist, but I don't know if you have those experiences where it's you know how when sometimes you just be I don't know, it happens all the time when you're sleeping, when you're just laying there meditating and then little images come into your head.
Yeah.
So I would be awake and conscious and I'll have images. I'll daydream of myself starting a damn YouTube channel or just starting something, or I'll watch myself, I'll think of myself reading a book and I think about reading a book but I'm nah, but slowly through the past week I've been having those images
You know why?
And I feel like, why?
Because what we commonly make the mistake in doing is just allowing our bodies and our emotions to overrun our subconscious and our conscious mind. As we want those things, and we should all understand that our consciousness is separate from our body and our emotions. They're together and they all work together, but sometimes we go on autopilot and we just let our bodies run us. And we think and we become upset because our brain creates emotions as well, but so does our bodies. And our bodies just run on autopilot. We're just doing things, you know? We're just doing things because we're used to doing it, and we've created this sort of routine in our mind. So our brain is just running that autopilot all the time, and we're doing the same habitual routine because we don't want to change. Because if we change, it'll create a different route in our brain, which causes like a little bit more energy for us to burn, to like change a little bit. So what we have to do instead is to get up in the morning and say, no, my subconscious is going to tell my body what to do. I'm in charge, not my body. My body is going to listen to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's why like I'll do like a cold shower.
The crown chakra? You think that's the crown chakra?
The third, I believe it's the third eye. The crown is like your higher self. The third eye is more like your consciousness.
Okay.
The crown links you to the universe and higher self and higher power.
Okay.
Right? You know that, right? You know that. You're just asking for the sake of the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So, yeah, like Nick told me, he did like a cold shower, and I thought that was great. That's a great thing. And Tony Robbins says that too. And I love Tony Robbins. He's like literally my mentor.
A cold
shower. Yeah, because I'll stand in the shower and I'll have the cold water hit my feet, and my body is just like, no, I'm cold as fuck. I'm not going in there. Nope. And I'm in my mind, and I'll tell my mind, and I'm like, I'll close my eyes. I'll take a deep breath, and I'll say, body, you will listen to me. I am in charge of you, and you will do what I want. And then I'll go into the shower, and I'll force my body to stay in the shower, and I'll do the 3 rotations, and I'll just stay there until I feel like my body doesn't want to leave the shower, leave the water. I'll force myself to stay underneath the cold water, and it's awesome. It wakes me up. It makes me feel in control and powerful. It really does, because it's like the act of doing something that you don't want to do. It's just like breaking that zone of comfort, that level of comfort that you're so used to. So let's do that. Let's do it in the morning.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's wrap it up. What was it called again? Breathe through it. Yes. I had to find it. Breathe through it. Okay.
Breathe through it. Breathe through it. We're gonna say it like that, like a little kid. Breathe through it.
Okay.
That's cute.